Hi. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how to create SGOs. So we're going to start by talking about what exactly an SGO is. SGO stands for Student Growth Objective. They're essentially long-term academic goals for groups of students. So we're looking at where students are in the beginning of the school year, and we're choosing a goal for them to reach by the end of the school year. Teachers set their own SGOs. Pre-K uses CORE to measure student growth. And teachers need to complete two SGOs, one in language arts and one in math. So where do I start? The first thing you want to do is choose a core item, one for LA and one for math. Now remember, we're looking to see significant academic growth throughout the school year, so be very mindful of the items that you choose. The first step would be to collect baseline data for each student. So what this means is we are looking to see where students are at the beginning of the year. You're going to give them an anecdote and a score for each of your SGO core items, and you're going to enter them into core. Then you can utilize core reports to group students into tiers. Now we're going to complete the SGO form, and the SGO form is also going to do that for you. And we're going to go over the SGO form in just a minute. After the SGO form is complete, you're going to continue to enter anecdotes for every student, every marking period in your two SGO items. Now, even though early childhood puts out a timeline telling you which items to score, which marking period, it's really in your best interest to make sure that for your two SGO items, you're scoring every child every marking period. At the end of the school year, you're just going to enter your final core scores, and the form will actually do all the math for you. So let's take a look at the SGO form. Okay, so this is what the SGO form looks like. Anything that's outlined in red is what you need to type into. So if you look up here at the very top on the left, you need to enter your very basic information. Name, school, grade, which would be pre-K 3 or pre-K 4, the course name. Now for this SGO, this is a math one, and I used counting as my example, so I put math/counting. The interval of instruction is October of the current school year through June of the current school year. You'll start by entering all of your students' names. Now up here, you're going to have to fill in the three pieces of evidence we use for our SGO. Now, as you know, we only use core in pre-K, so we use core as one of our evidences, portfolio as the second, and we have an attendance rubric, which I'll show you a little later, that we use as our third piece of evidence. So right up here in these boxes, you're just going to type core, attendance, portfolio. Once you collect your baseline data, you're going to enter the scores here. So your core score and your portfolio score are the same since they're essentially using the same program. So you're going to enter these here. Okay, once this is all finished, you're just going to move over here to the right side of the form. Okay, and you're going to look at these boxes down here. These have a drop-down menu, and we're picking 3 in each of these. Okay, just make sure you use the drop-down menu to do that. Once all of this is complete, you can move to the next tab. If you see here on the bottom, there are all different tabs. So we're starting in fall input, and then we're going to look at fall tiering and targets. As you can see here, the Excel program automatically tiers students for you. Okay, they group the students based on their score. So up here it tells you how many students you have in each group. These 3 boxes up here are going to need to be filled out by you. So this middle box is simple. It's just asking what is the highest score that a child can receive in core. So you're just going to put a 7. This next box over here is the target percentage for each group in order for you to receive a score of 3. The state mandates that this says 70%, so we're just going to put 70% in each of these boxes. Okay? Now over here, you have to pick a target score for your SGO for each group. So I know that my tier 1 students are all of the students that scored a 2. So generally we pick 2 levels above where they are. So if they're starting at a 2, then my target score is going to be a 4. My tier 2 students were starting at a level 3. So their target score is going to be 5. And my tier 3 students are all the students that started at a level 4. So their target score is going to be a 6. Okay? Now using this math over here, it tells you how many students need to reach that target for you to get a 3. So I have 8 students in tier 1. I need to get 6 of them from a 2 to a 4 in order to get a satisfactory result on my SGO. For tier 2, I have 4 students. I need to move 3 of them to their target score of 5 in order to get that same satisfactory result. And then in tier 3, I only have 2 students. So really both of them need to reach that goal of 6. Okay. During the course of the school year, there are opportunities to adjust some of your information, which is something that we'll address later. Now, at the beginning of the school year, the only thing that you have left to do is to come down here, scroll through to the very last tab, which says SGO form. Now, when I click on that, you can see that all the basic information carries over, so you don't have to touch anything at the top. It is just this box with all the red writing that you're going to have to type into. So what this is asking for are the standards that are connected to the core item. So since I chose counting as my core item, I chose numbers and counting. What I typed in here are all the standards that are related to numbers and counting. You can see there's quite a bit of them, but we want to make sure we put them all in there. So once you have your standards typed in, the next thing they want you to put in this box is the rationale. Now, what the rationale is, they just want to know, because teachers teach a lot of things all year, why this particular skill was so important that you chose it for your SGO. So why is this skill important for the child's future learning, for college readiness, and for career success? So that's what you're going to put here. It only has to be a couple of sentences. And a lot of times teachers take some of the information directly from the core book. The last thing you kind of need to put down here is a little bit of information about core. So this can actually be copied right from the example. The new Core Advantage assessment now assesses early childhood development starting at the stage of infancy through kindergarten in 8 content areas. Each Core Advantage item is scored using an 8-level scale ranging from 0, lowest, to 7, highest, which is based on objective anecdotal notes recorded over time for each child. So that can be copied. And then you're going to write Core Advantage, you're going to write the content area, and then you're going to put the number, you're going to pick the number, the letter of the item that you chose. So this is S, numbers and counting. Whoops. Sorry, let's go back up here. I'm having a hard time. Okay, this is what I want to show you. So then you're just going to enter your baseline data, which just essentially is saying how many kids are in each of your groups. So group 1, your developing group, how many students are in there, how many students are in group 2, and how many are in group 3. Then you're going to type, this also can be copied, source of evidence, anecdotal records, portfolio, and the attendance rubric. Now here at the very bottom is where we have the attendance rubric. And it's a 4-point rubric. So this also can be copied right from here. Level 4 means never absent. Level 3 means rarely absent, which we consider once a month. Level 2 means sometimes absent, 2 to 3 times a month. Level 1 means frequently absent, more than 4 times a month. So all of this information with the source of evidence and the attendance rubric can be copied directly from this example. Okay. Once that's complete, then essentially you're ready to submit it. I just want to look at one other thing. Occasionally, when you input your information, because of the way the Excel sheet formulates things, it's possible that a child ends up in a tier that you don't want them to. So maybe this child that has a score of 2 that you expect to be in tier 1 ends up in tier 2. There is a way to override that. So you come right here to fall tiering in targets. And if you look over here, it says override a student selected tier here. If you click on that box, there's a drop-down menu, and you can choose the tier that you want the child to be in. So most of the time, after you enter your scores and you come to this page, the students are tiered accurately. But like I said, occasionally it happens that a student is in the wrong tier, and this is just where you would override that by clicking on the drop-down menu and selecting the tier they belong in. Okay, now let's go back over here. At the end of the school year, you're just going to go right here to the purple tab of Finish SGO. And all you need to do is enter your students' final scores. Once you enter their final scores, as you can see, as I type over here, this blue box changes. So as you enter their final scores, the math is done for you. So assuming that most of my students reach their target, I'm going to make it so a couple don't, so you can see what happens. Okay, so you can see that most of my students met their target. I have 2 students that didn't. So it automatically does the math for you. It has the number of students in the tier, the number that hit the target, the percent that hit the target, what my SGO score is unweighted, and what the weight is. Now what that means basically is the more kids there are in a group, the more that score counts. That's all that weighted means. And this does the math for you and gives you your total SGO score right over here. A 3 is where everybody needs to be to get a satisfactory evaluation, and anything above that is a bonus. And I think that's it. Now, if you have any questions, because the first time you do this, it may seem really complicated, you can feel free to reach out to myself, Megan Barito, or my colleague on this webinar, Lauren Fonseca. You can also reach out to your lead teacher for additional support.